Well, let me give you a quick quiz to start off today's daily diatribe. Who was quoted in the New York Times over the weekend saying this, quote, "We look like Camp Christian out here. If Iowa becomes some extraneous right-wing outpost, you have to question whether it's going to be a good place to vet your presidential candidates," unquote. Now, who do you think said that? Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, or maybe her partner in crime, Christopher Matthews? Maybe Democrat Senator Frank Lautenberg, who recently said conservatives don't deserve the freedoms in the Constitution. Maybe another squealing, whiny, petulant liberal. Is that what you're thinking? Well, if it was a Republican, it had to be a total rhino like Arlen Specter, who's not even a Republican anymore. He must have said something like this, right? Wrong. What if I were to tell you that what I just read from Sunday's edition of the New York Times came from a former Republican nominee for the governor of Iowa, Doug Gross, who, if you know anything at all about Terry Branstad's inner circle, you know that he really is right now the governor of Iowa, that he runs the show. That's right. A guy that a lot of you Christians watching this right now voted for, myself included, to be governor in 2002, says in the New York Times, in the chief propaganda piece of the American left, he craps on you. And he says, quote, "We look like Camp Christian out here. If Iowa becomes some extraneous right-wing outpost, you have to question whether it's going to be a good place to vet your presidential candidates," unquote. By the way, I'm just curious. What other method should we use to vet our presidential candidates, Doug? Should we use, I don't know, a left-wing outpost? Should we be a left-wing outpost? Maybe we should be a more moderate outpost. What issues should we moderate on? Okay, I propose we moderate on the issues that allow you and your buddies to steal from the Treasury and call it economic development. Or allow you and your buddies, maybe we should moderate on that, that allows you and your buddies to take people's century farms and turn them into strip malls because they need water, unquote. This is an unbelievable statement. But what's even more unbelievable about it is that if any of the liberals that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if they had said this, my Facebook account, my Twitter account, my email account would be overrun with comments from angry Christians and angry conservatives about, yet again, being sold out in the mainstream media. What I find, however, very disappointing is that when these comments that I just read, when they come from a Republican insider named Doug Gross, you know what you hear? Yeah, crickets chirping. And see, herein lies the problem. Because I really don't care what Chris Matthews or Rachel Maddow or Bill Maher think about what I believe, but I certainly care about what those who claim to be with me on the issues and try to rally me to vote for their candidates, what they think about what I believe. Because I don't expect people who don't agree with me to act in a way that I would agree with. I expect those that would. But then again, we are talking here about a man who helped perpetuate the lies and mythology of Mitt Romney in the last Iowa caucus campaign. So we shouldn't be surprised that he's helping to perpetuate the lies and the mythology of the American left in its own propaganda rag, the New York Times. I sit and wonder, what would the reaction be if I said, boy, I don't know if we should hold these elections in Iraq. It's starting to look like Camp Muhammad out here. I got to believe there'd be wailing and gnashing of teeth. But discriminate against the Christians, and it seems to be okay. Make a terse or incendiary remark about Christianity, and it seems to be all right. Then again, we're okay with it. Because we keep voting for hacks like Doug Gross and the sellout rhino candidates that he throws up on the ballot simply because they're not Democrats. So if I was Doug Gross, I'd keep spitting in your eye too, because you all seem really willing to take it. At some point, this has to change. I can only imagine what would happen if a social conservative, if a Christian conservative said, boy, we shouldn't really have the Iowa caucuses. A bigger state with a more diverse population ought to have them. Every Republican worth his salt would be out blasting this guy. But the guy who's really the governor of the state of Iowa Doug Gross, he says it. You don't hear any talk about building coalitions and reaching out. Yeah, where's Haley Barbour when you need him, right? Haley Barbour comes to Iowa and tells you, hey, vote for baby killers, provided they're called Republicans. Well, I'd like to know, where's the coalition that says, hey, we shouldn't be so right-wing? Well, then what should we be, Doug? More left-wing? More middle-wing? And what middle wing are we going to fly? What do we have to get rid of to be in the middle? And if we don't want to have a lot of Christians involved in the process, then who would we like to have involved in the process? You know, we're going to have an atheist conference here on Easter weekend. Perhaps Doug should be their keynote speaker. He should go to them and say, you know, it's not fair. We should have more of you involved in the caucus process. Here's what this really means. What this really means is guys like Doug Gross are gangsters. And they don't like it, as most gangsters don't, who are also bullies, when they can't bully you around and put a gun to your head and get you to do what they want you to do. And so, when you no longer allow yourself to be bullied, what they do is then they just get snotty and snarky because they have no other card left to play. This is the reality. Anybody who puts a guy like Doug Gross on his team or in his inner circle shouldn't be trusted. Period. Do you perpetuate the ambitions, careers, and beliefs of people you don't agree with? Well, you would if you were bipolar. Normal people, however, don't. Normal people don't seek to perpetuate the ambitions and the influence of people they think are wrong. You might still like them, you might still be friends with them, but you don't try to put them in positions of influence. When a presidential or a gubernatorial or a congressional candidate courts the support of someone like Doug Gross, then that speaks volumes. As the great Will Rogers once said, you can tell a lot about a man by the friends he has and the company he keeps. And when someone keeps the company of Doug Gross in their inner circle, and they yearn to have him be supportive and influential in whatever cause they're engaged in, then those of you who take the Bible and the Constitution seriously probably shouldn't take that candidate very seriously any longer. I want to thank you for joining us here at stevedeace.com. You can email me, steve@stevedeace.com. Join me at Steve Deace on Facebook, Steve_Deace on Twitter. If there's ever any story or any question you'd like to have us address right here at stevedeace.com, email us and let us know. God bless.